Welcome back, Shadow Sessions Paranormal fam. We are back for another in-studio recording. We have a very special guest with us here today. You guys have heard us talk about him several times. We have our guy, Morgan. Say hello, everyone. And also, Morgan, say hello to everyone that's watching, all 37 of our subscribers that we have.
Hello, all 37 of you. It's good to be here. I've listened to this podcast since you guys started it. It's cool to hear the stories, and I'm glad to be here to see what it's all about and talk with you guys.
Absolutely. So if you want to give everyone that's going to listen a little bit of a background, like how do you know Caleb? How did you guys become friends?
So Caleb and I met in college. We had a mutual friend that kind of introduced us, and we just kind of seemed like we hit it off pretty quick. Like
one good thing about him.
Yeah, exact. We had like pretty similar interests. Like I think we started with music for sure for me, but then we kind of just started having classes together. We were roommates for a long time during college, and
they were roommates.
It just seemed like it was pretty natural. Like we hung out a lot from then on. I mean,
excellent.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then we've been friends ever since. When he was in my wedding, and yeah, so we've known each other for a long time.
Well, and you and your wife are you guys staying the weekend, or are you guys heading somewhere else?
Yeah, we're staying the weekend, so Excellent. We'll be here all weekend. Yep.
Nice,
Hard
awesome.
time.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, like we said, I mean, we've talked about you a couple times. We have a topic that the last time that Caleb and I podcasted, we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to talk about Hinsdale, and we kept kind of going on a sidetrack, but there's so much spiciness that happened. I think we're going to wait on that a little bit. Give us a little bit of how you kind of got into paranormal. Because I know, like, we took your paranormal virginity, so to say, when we took you to Old Hospital. But, like, kind of how did you get into it before? And then we'll kind of dive into the Old Hospital and beyond.
All right. So the first thing that I had I was involved in paranormal was also with Caleb. It was probably back 10 years or so ago. They used to do this, like, I guess you're going to call it like a cleanup, like in the spring at Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield. So we would go there and spend the day, and we got sent to the basement or something like that to clean all this
to the basement you go
stuff. It was me and shout out Fish and Garrett.
Fish was there,
and Emily and Harrison. They were all there. So we went on this big group thing, spent some time in the basement, and it was great. And we spent the whole day down there, and as kind of like a payment to do that, we got to investigate for free. So we did that as a big group. Super cool. Kind of had free range of the prison at that point. And I don't know. I will say that probably I wouldn't say was my first one, because I didn't know what to expect, and I don't know if I was fully in it. I was just kind of there and not knowing what to expect. But I think definitely some things happened.
Like a flashlight. We had a voice recorder. I had dowsing rods for some reason. Like, that was the first time I'd actually seen them done. I remember buying them like right after the trip, because I had always thought they were complete BS, and the lady had them in the sleeve that like you held on your hand. So like I always thought, okay, she's manipulating them somehow. And like they was like, you want to try them? You more than welcome to. And I remember being, I think it was the East Cell block in the showers, and I remember asking, and it was just the first question was just like, boom, it opened up, and I was like, I didn't move at all. And I was like, hold on, there's something. And we had probably a good 20-30 minute conversation, flashlights turning off in there. And I remember the first time the flashlight turned off, we were in the attic, and all of us were like, I'm ready to run. Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, do something different. I need something more. Like, it's always searching for that.
Come touch me, please.
Yeah.
Well, I was intrigued to go to that, and I wouldn't say like at first I was like super intrigued by the paranormal side of it. I just always liked old buildings. Like especially if there's an old decaying building with a bunch of like stuff growing over it and stuff like that, I've always been like, man, that's so cool. I either want to go take pictures there or just go step inside of it, and like that is like drawn to me, right?
So that's like, Olivia 100%. Yeah. I mean, she has her own website that she's selling a lot of the prints. Do you have any up yet?
I do photography. He is the one on the TV stand downstairs.
Yeah, it's downstairs in the living room.
Because like I do photography outside of the paranormal, but like paranormal photography, and it doesn't have to be paranormal. It's just like looking at how the places look now, and I love it. But like, no, I made a separate Instagram page where I'll post them daily. And then I made a website just because I found somewhere in Columbus that I always do like prints from. Mm-hmm. And when I see how they looked, I was like, holy shit, these look amazing. Yeah. Like, not not necessarily my work, but just like on a print form, I'm like, no, these look amazing. So
Heck
I
yeah.
started selling them, and it's really good.
That's
too.
awesome.
I'm like,
Like that's
I
another
love it.
side of things is that like people don't normally see is that decaying parts of these
Yeah.
buildings, and like even that just adds to like this aura of things. So like,
'Cause it's like-
I've always been drawn to that.
yeah. In my mind, it's like,
It's
okay,
the
it
urban
was-
exploration aspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's like, okay, it was once this. This is how it is now. This is how I'm capturing it. But then it's like people can look back in like 5 years and see, okay, this is how it was after that. Maybe it's now different, or maybe it's gone.
Right. I mean,
But it's
you're
so cool.
you're archiving the history of it too is
Yeah.
cool too, and just how it decays. So like I was totally into it for going to the OSR. I think that's what it's called, right? Sorry. But definitely, I would say I got drawn into it when we went to that time. You know, just things of like maybe, well, this device had battery and now it doesn't. How did that happen?
Right.
That's
Or-
a really cool place too to be your first.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
He's
and-
not done small,
No.
little.
Yeah.
Morgan has been just thrown into the wolves.
I love it. That's the way I'd rather have it. I'd
The-
rather just
the
be thrown in.
locations
It's like,
Well,
you know,
tend to
like-
do that too. Anyone that you bring out for the first time, it's like, we're gonna bring you to a big place.
Well, I mean, the first time that Caleb and I investigated, I took you to Middle Point.
Yeah.
And Middle Point, it's not like super wildly known, but I mean, it's a pretty decent sized building.
You took me to Madison.
I took you to Madison. We took you to Old Hospital.
Yep.
Tyler's first place was Anderson.
His very first one was OSR as well.
Oh, okay. But first, like, investigation
Yeah.
was the Anderson Hotel, which that place is fucked. Like, it's it's so nasty. And, like, I think we've talked about it a couple times, but it's one of those places that you don't want to be the first person up the stairs. You don't want to be the last person up the stairs. The best way I can describe it is, you know, like the old school Scooby-Doo movies or TV show when they're, like, walking down the hallway and the hand, like,
Oh, comes out from the doorway.
I swear to you, every single room is like that. But I like
You want
to
to run down the stairs. And I remember leaving that night. I was the last person. And I swear the whole time I'm like, something's walking behind me. Just
angrily.
keep on. Yeah.
So
Like you
terrifying.
feel like you're just going to get pushed at any moment. And it's
So you feel uneasy the whole time you're
every
there.
single, except for the room that has a suicide mattress. As weird as that is, I don't know if it's the Bible verses that's written above the bed. That room feels comforting. It feels welcoming. Like you feel fine there, but like you walk out 3 feet out of the room,
That room feels
it's the
comforting?
ominous, like something's in that room or in the
That
building.
room feels comforting?
Yeah. I've not felt creeped out. Like you can sit in any part of that room and you feel fine.
Except for the
And
mattress, you're not allowed to sit on the mattress.
Yeah.
Well, I would
That's a
hope
lot.
not.
That's a lot to. I'm just seeing pictures of that. That'd be a lot to sit on
Yeah.
that.
Wouldn't do it.
Destination Fear went there, and that's where I saw it first. I did a lot of like with your Paranormal, which is one of the other groups
Was it
that
Destination
I'm a part
Fear
of.
or Nick's?
Or Nick Groff's show, Paranormal Lockdown. Sorry, they went there, and I was doing a lot of like research in a nice like 6-7 hour drive radius, and found a lot of places. And we went and got a cat ball getting knocked off like on command, and then Paranormal Encounters went off of my recommendation. So Connor went out there and investigated and filmed an episode, and we went a second time, me, you, my brother that's right below me, Ian, and then Tyler went, and it was just the four of us, and it was gross. It was gross, and I've been trying to get back in, but they suffered some damage when all those tornadoes came through back in like March or April or something like that, and they're running into some issues. So I've been in communication with Jeff. We're trying to actually get him to come onto the podcast and have him talk about it. But enough about that. So OSR, anything crazy happened while you were there? Like
Yeah, so there's two things that are burnt into my memory. Like one was while we were there, and then one was after the fact when Garrett looked over the audio. So the one while we were there, I can recount it now. It didn't happen to me, but the first time I was like, okay, so something's up. We were all sitting in a room, and you're gonna have to help me with this because I don't know what the rooms are.
Is it the
Maybe
chair
you'll-
room?
Yes, the chair
It's like
room.
that weird
Ah,
kind of teardrop shaped room that's just one door
Yeah.
and there's a chair in the middle of the room.
do you guys want to something crazy?
Yeah,
I've never been to OSR.
really?
I did their blood prison. That's the only time I've ever been.
it's huge.
I think I've
It's
done it 6
The
times.
only
now.
time I've ever been.
But the last time I was there, like, I felt nothing. Like, I literally was just wandering around by myself. Like, I'm just going to go sit in solitary. Like, I felt nothing. Some of these places, I'm like, I don't even want to walk in the next room. That one, I'm like, I'm cool. Just leave me alone. And I felt, I don't know, it all depends on the day, which time you go. Like, every time it's something different.
The energy that comes in.
But I'm telling you, like, I want to do a private there, like, with a small group, say, like, 10, 15 people, like, would be fine. But when there's 50, 60 people, it's hard to tell, because you're going to hear a noise and you're like, okay, is someone walking the stairs? I don't know. But if you're in there and there's 10 people with me, all 10 of them are in this room with me in the basement right now. If I hear a door slam, it's no one else.
So
it's just hard to scientifically be like, there's something, there's not, I don't know.
There's too many people it's huge in there though, but yeah, to rule everything out of what could be what you heard.
Like, I already know what story you're going to tell.
You
too.
did, yes.
I remember the exact moment.
As a quick aside, so Your Paranormal is Your Paranormal's birthday is in August of next year, of 2025. So Brian and myself, you guys probably remember Brian from a couple episodes ago. We're actually working and doing a private in August on a weekend.
Nice.
So you both will be obviously invited. All of us will be invited. So just kind of keep that in mind. But we're going to do like a nice birthday party for Your Paranormal.
That's cool.
And we're going to run it as basically a huge private investigation. But continue.
Yeah. So it's creepy. I remember like the spots of uneasiness throughout the whole place. Definitely I can bring back, but the thing in that chair room that you were talking about, I remember, I don't know how many of us were actually in the group, because I feel like we had a group of people, and then maybe some people just kind of
I think
leached in with us.
There was 7 of us.
Yeah.
Garrett, Gannon, you, Emily, me, Harrison, Fish. 7.
So we were all sitting in this room, and I think it was Gannon decided to sit in like a desk or a chair in the middle of the room, and it's the dark room, no lights are on, and I'm just kind of sitting there thinking,
Gross.
Okay, just waiting. And then my wife Emily was sitting next to me, and she all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bolted out of the room. She got up and she was just like, I mean, she couldn't see where she was going. She had no lights. We didn't have any flashlights on. She just bolted in the dark. It's like, what happened? And so when we finally got to talking, she was like, I don't know what, but something had its hands around my throat.
She got touched.
She's like, immediately, and I know that was 100% because I could see it on her face once we finally got out of there.
She was spooked.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, okay, this is great. This is wild. But
I love getting touched by the ghost.
So you never forget that first time, and you're like, I 100% felt something. That was
It goes two ways. You either are investigating and you get touched, and you're like, okay, I need to get touched again, which sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to I need it to happen again to see,
to prove that it's real. If it was you touching me, touch me again.
Yeah, and then the other path is you get touched and it's like, absolutely not. I'm never doing this again. Don't put me in a building. Like
me at Monroe.
You guys probably remember that. She's crying and vomiting and sobbing in the next room, and Caleb's just giving her a funny little side eye.
I'm absolutely miserable, and you pan it over to Caleb, and he's looking at me like,
because I didn't even know what was going on yet. We just thought you were freaking out. It was funny.
But in the moment, like, how do you know what is going on? Like, but yeah, I remember that moment, and then the after the effect was like when Garrett had gone over the audio, and I think we were up in the attic of OSR, and we had encountered some area that had like nooses or something hung up. Do you remember that area? It was like a little hallway.
It's in the very back of the big attic where they had the like overflow from the fires at the Columbus prison.
But these were like these were nooses that were placed like not to be seen. These were like a really creepy location.
What those are for.
But Garrett had an audio set up, and he was recording and asking, and I think you were asking questions, and I remember the audio that he captured, and it said like, you said something like, show us if you're here or something like that, and you hear this just whispers thing that just talks back really faintly. I didn't hear it at the time. Is it the
I'll show you?
I'll show you.
So yes. I remember that exact moment. That wasn't in the attic. That was actually in the warden's. We were on that stage.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Because I still remember sitting there. It was me, Emily, then you sitting on the stage. And I remember both me and Emily look over and we're like, what'd you say? And you're like, I didn't say anything. We both heard an audible noise, so we went in that room. that had like the pipe exposed on the wall. And I just remember like we were hearing weird noises. It was thundering and lightning outside too, which was kind of cool. But I remember the recording is Emily's just like, if you don't want us in here, give us a sign, show us something. And the voice was clear as day, just, I'll show you.
Yes.
And I actually had it on my EVP because I was in the living room at our apartment. I remember just like first time I ever really listened to it, and I was like, what in the world? And I was like immediately like ran up. I was like, dude, you got to come listen to this thing. Like this is, I wish I still had that laptop. Like
in my email somewhere I have.
I was gonna say
still.
I have that laptop, but it's like
know.
all messed up. It's 15 years old,
But from that, I was like, okay, this is crazy. So then, you fast forward from that 10 years to my next one. That's kind of where we're at now. So the OSR was my first one, going to the blood prison or whatever they called it back in the day, as I was like, growing up. It was always cool, but then this takes it to another level, and I was hooked.
So how did you... Because, I mean, you obviously went to Old Hospital, which was the place you were talking about.
Yeah.
With me, Caleb, and another friend, Tyler. How did it get to that point? Did you ask Caleb like, hey, like you're doing all this spooky shit, can I come with you? Like, or kind of like, how did that come up?
So I remember like hearing him talk about all these places over the course of us knowing each other. They're like going and spending the night at these places. And then I think that we were all together for a celebration, and you guys were kind of starting to get into it, like you guys doing stuff, the two of you. And I was like, yeah, the next time you guys go, just if you guys need an extra body, I would love to go. So then it was maybe faster forward 4 months or something like that. And they're like, hey, do you want to go to this place in West Virginia called Old Hospital on College Hill? And I was like, sure, I have no idea what that place is, but yeah, let's go.
So, and the funny thing for you guys listening, as of filming this in 2 weeks, all of us plus Vanessa from Brent, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. Shadow Things. Vanessa from Shadow Things.
I got you.
She's got me. We're all five of us are going to go. We are going to investigate the hospital, and we're going to investigate Dr. Conley's house. So,
and we're all be doing challenges. So
I'm excited that I
be
get
prepared.
To finally go.
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
body cooler for Bravin.
Olivia's. We talk about, me and Caleb, pretty much every location we go, because we like compare experiences of like, oh, we had this happen here, and that's. A lot of people in the paranormal community do that. They're like, oh, hey, have you been to this location? Like, what happened? Like, oh, we had this, we had that, we had this. Old Hospital.
And Anderson.
And Madison. And Madison and Hinsdale.
Which, out of those, Madison is the only one that I've been to. But every single time, you guys always bring up Anderson and Old Hospital. And it's always those two. And I'm like, out of all the places that I've been with you guys...
Yeah.
I've not been to those two.
The fun thing that I'm really excited for is when we talk about Hinsdale, because Olivia's heard it from both Caleb and I. And I'm really excited to hear you explain it, because, I mean, Olivia believes us, because we've been through some weird shit together.
Right.
But, like, it's so crazy, because I tell people, when I explain it to them, I can see it in their face that they're like, okay, you're kind of full of it. And I said, ask any of the four guys that are there. Call them right now. They will tell you the exact same thing. And the nice thing is, like, we haven't talked about it on camera. So it's like we've been kind of holding off. But we're all going to Old Hospital. But let's walk through that. Like, what were your expectations, if you had any?
Yeah. And
then kind of walk us through the night. Like, what was some crazy shit that happened? What was your favorite part, your least favorite part? Give us the down and dirty.
All right, so expectations. I'll say that at the time I'd been watching, I'd just gotten into watching like the Destination Fear and Project Fear type stuff. So I was watching, like, once I started watching that because you had recommended it to me, I was like, okay, I'll watch an episode. And the next thing I know, I've finished a season of it, in like 2 days or something like that. So I started watching it and I was like, okay. And then they had an episode on Old College, and I watched that before I went to know just kind of like what it looked like, because I kind of wanted to know what I was getting into. And that was the only expectation I had, was just knowing what it looks. I didn't know any stories about it other than anything they had said anything about it. But getting there,
First impression. You pull up. What was going through your mind?
This place is one of the most ominous looking places I've ever seen.
100%.
Ever. Because it's like in this weird location. I'm not going to say it's a weird location, but it's like up on a hill by like kind of another couple industrial buildings and like in a housing area, but the elevation changes make it even creepier up on that hill.
It overlooks the entire town.
Yeah, and depending on what angle you're looking at the building, it looks even creepier in other angles than it does in some.
Well, remember we stopped at that gas station to just get some provisions and get some snacks, and you walk out and you turn to the left and it's there, like it's looming. It's the tallest building because it's sitting up on a hill, but it's the tallest building because it's that, and then the nurses' college are right there.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the provisions and stuff too, they knew what we were there for.
Yeah.
They were just like, "You guys are here to go to the hospital, aren't you?" And I'm sure we're all dressed in black and like everything. So they like, I guess we're kind of like
the ghost
noticeable
stereotype.
Black, and we're just looking for snacks and energy drinks at 6 p.m. at night. So like, I guess we
showed up in a rented vehicle
bill,
with some random like Arizona or Florida license plate. Like, oh, these fucking dudes.
First impression, drive up. It's kind of overcast. I remember just thinking like,
it was perfect weather.
It was awesome because it was just the right temperature. Get in there, and I remember it being like, oh, this is cool. But I think I had this expectation it was bigger than it looked on the outside, but it's not small by any means. Like, I don't think, but I remember going in there, and I don't know. My favorite part was.
Back in another drink, my guys.
What did you ask? My favorite part, my least favorite part, or like my first impression kind of a thing?
Yeah. So you gave first impression. Let's do favorite part and least favorite part, and then we'll kind of talk about like what
I gotta
happened.
give a shout out though. First.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're going to talk about.
We get there, we unload, we go on a little tour, and we have an EM pump. This is Morgan's like first like private investigation with a small group. Not a public one with a bunch of other people. And we were like, you know what, let's test him. I was like, I don't think he's going to do it, but we're going to see. I said, hey, can you take this upstairs to the 4th floor and set it in the operating room and just turn it on? Morgan was just like, sure. And I'm like, okay, he's going to go all the way up there by himself. And this place it's creepy. Olivia, you legit, even with the lights on.
We hadn't even gotten a tour yet.
Like, you don't necessarily want to be on any floor. Like, you look down any hallway and it's creepy. And Morgan was just like, okay.
And Caleb and I both looked at each other and we went, huh?
Oh yeah, I was there to feel everything. I was there to get scared. So I was like,
you're probably over there like, drag me by my ankles.
I was like, yeah, throw me for something, but like
push me down the stairs.
Just like Paranormal Activity.
Exactly. Anything. Just do your worst. But which I guess is probably not the right mindset to go into it. But I remember the creepiest part is walking on the elevator. Number one, the elevator that's over 100 years old that's still working, and then you're hearing the door close, and then that kind of is like. That was the moment I was like, this is real. Like this, I'm here in this place and this is real. So yeah, going up to that 4th floor to that operating room and dropping that device that you had me drop.
The EM pump.
It's always
that was
weird
crazy.
Having that moment of, there's 2 of those like realization moments. It's when you have them planned out and then like we're talking about Old Hospital and then I guarantee and like that we're going to be in the building like, oh.
We booked it in September. Already. Yeah. Just so everyone's aware. Like, that's how far along we booked it.
But then the other realization is like, okay, I'm going to go. I mean, I've not been to Old Hospital, but bear with me. It's like, okay, we're going to go investigate at Old Hospital. Like, it's just a ghost hunting spot. And then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm here ghost hunting. But this is what this used to be. And the people here were patients and like this and that. And you're like, whoa. It's just like a weird, like.
It's a realization.
Okay.
Yeah. Realizing that.
But it always hits at like a random point in the night, and you're like, oh.
That place you feel it the minute you walk in, and you're gonna have that realization.
I make this comment every time, and I mean, you guys have all heard it, and we were even talking about it downstairs when we were kind of chit chatting. That is the one place where we had nonstop activity from the minute we walked in to the minute we left, and I'm not talking like, oh, there was a knock or a scratch on the door. Like, we were hearing doors slamming. We were hearing talking. Like, 3 out of the 4 of us got touched. Like, shit was wild.
Is this where Caleb was in the body cooler and you guys thought he was, like, banging or something?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
We'll touch on that. But, like, it's the one place. And, like, even, not to kind of, like, it's not a sidebar. But the gentleman that owns the building, he's the mayor of the town.
Okay.
And he knows tons of history. Like, if we weren't on like a quote unquote time crunch, like I would have totally listened to this guy talk for like hours. But he was telling us this story that the town of Williamson in West Virginia is where it's at. Used to be the largest rail depot east of the Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Largest rail depot east of the Mississippi, and was super important during World War II. Mm-hmm. And he told us this story about this podiatrist or a foot doctor that showed up and was renting this space, and he had his like doctor's office on the first floor, and he had his living quarters on the second floor. Mm-hmm. And he was fascinated with taking pictures. Loved taking pictures of people, was taking pictures at the train station, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And then World War II broke out. World War II broke out, or he might have moved it there during World War II or something like that.
He moved to it before, before the U.S. had joined in, like a couple years or something. He
moved in, and World War II is going on. He's taking pictures, people coming and going. Like, everyone's like, oh, great, he's the foot doctor. Like, he's such a great dude. And then World War II ended, and this guy disappeared. This guy was a spy for the Nazis, taking pictures of inbound and outbound train loads.
Like, I couldn't remember if he was Russian or if he was German, but
he was some type of Axis spy.
Yeah.
And he's telling us this story, and I'm
this
like,
happened there?
Yes, in the town. He lived like one street over. It used to have one of those big, like, think Thomas the Tank Engine, one of those big rotating turnstiles with the. Do you even know who Thomas the Tank Engine is?
No, I know Thomas the Train.
God. That's Thomas the Train.
Yeah,
Thomas
okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about, and then you said like the federal government name for him, and I'm like,
the federal government name.
Thomas the Tank Engine was a spy.
Thomas the Train.
So it had like, it was like a 15 train car like storage building, and it had one of those big turnstiles. But they were shipping munitions and all supplies and stuff like that out of that area coming through rail, and he was taking pictures of the inbound and outbound shipments, and he's telling us this story, and I'm like, keep talking. Like, he just had story after story after story after story. So there's tons of super cool history in that town. It's very small. Only a couple thousand people live there now.
So I think at the heyday, you said it was like 40,000 people, something like that. Now it's like 7,000, maybe.
I think it might even be less, because I think a huge fire it was a flood or something like that came and ravaged.
Like how, the houses and like the area, it's just very run down, and it's that area, it's just lost so much.
So okay, back to you, Morgan. Sorry.
So the crazy, I would say the craziest things that happened that I had happen was probably within the first 20 to 30 minutes. It all kind of happened in a grouping. And the first, you guys might help me on locations, but there's a floor where there was like a nurse's area, I think. Well, no, I'm sorry. It was like maybe on the third floor or something like that. We were the first area we investigated.
Was this when I was under Estes?
No, this was before that. I think because we were all in the room just without headphones.
We went up to the third floor first.
I don't remember. Keep talking, and I might remember what you're talking about.
Very first thing that happened that I remember that was like the hair stood on the back of my neck was, I knew that there was nobody else in this building. And in the back of my mind, I was like, there's nobody else in here. They can't get in. There's no one hiding because we already looked through the whole place. And all of a sudden, from the other end of the hallway, a metal locker slammed shut.
Oh, okay.
Remember that? So that was the first.
So that was
10
when
minutes.
I was when I
Oh,
was
you were
under.
under.
I was like, I didn't get to hear it.
And it was loud. It was not just like the wind blew it, but I mean, it was like something had taken a locker door and had slammed it into itself. And
was that when?
That would have been when you guys were hearing the click.
Was that when we heard the walking down the hallway? Because or was that a separate time? Because that maybe that happened when we were walking through. Because the only big slam that I remember is when Caleb was under Estes. He was in that room. We were hearing the pen clicks, and then we heard that door slam. It sounded like the fire door at the far end of the hallway, like when you round the corner.
Yeah.
And we heard that walking down the hallway, and it like rounded the corner.
I think so, because it was on that hallway where the pen clicks with the nurses.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think so. We are talking about the same room.
Okay.
But at that point, I was just like, okay, this is creeping me out for sure. My blood was like, I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. But yeah, you under Estes in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to be on guard a little more.
And I was like, no idea what's going on. Potatoes just saying random things.
I'm coming for you. Well, and we told Tyler and Morgan, we're like, okay, if it's not super active, we'll put Caleb under and shit hits the fan. Like that's usually what happens. And you guys are probably like, okay, yeah, like whatever. No, it within 10 minutes or 5 or 10 minutes of Caleb going under, slamming and talking and clicking and all sorts of stuff.
Random footsteps on the ground and stuff like that too. But that was crazy. But then Tyler went under. And that was also, I don't know if you want to talk about that, because that was kind of the moment that Bravin and I truly bonded for the first time.
So we're up on the 4th floor, and
there's the operating room.
Yeah, we were up in the operating room, and those of you that are thinking about investigating, like one thing we found that helps out a lot is if you play sounds that would be familiar to the spirits or the entities that are there. So we were up in the operating room. And the crazy thing is that everyone that was there was a medical professional. Mm-hmm. We had 2 nurses, myself in transplant, and then Tyler, who's a firefighter paramedic. So all of us were in medicine, which I think might have like amplified it just a little bit more.
Yeah, too.
But we're in the operating room, and Caleb was like, hey, like play operating room sounds. So we had like the oh my God, I'm drawing the respirator and all sorts of OR sounds. And Tyler, or Morgan, you were under first, and we have a super cool picture of you sitting on the floor with some random, like, I'm hiding or something like that.
It sounds like clowns or something written on the wall. And
yeah.
I was like, this is
super cool picture. It was your first time going under, and like we're hearing stuff, medications, doctors' names, all sorts of stuff, and we're like, okay, we'll pull you out and we'll put Tyler under, which is what you're talking about. So Tyler's in this hallway, which he threw a fit about because he doesn't like being by himself, but he's down in the hallway. I'm standing kind of like with my back to the operating room. You're in front of me, and Caleb was like a little bit farther. And all of a sudden, Tyler, like, something like lifts up on my sleeve, like very slowly lifts it up and just yanks it back. And when I tell you, I leapt into Morgan's arms, I full on jumped into this man. Like, full on 100%. Jumped into Morgan. We're all like laughing and like freaking out. And then Tyler from the hallway goes, boys, I ain't getting anything. And we're just dying because I got touched. Like, and Olivia and Caleb can like vouch. I don't get touched ever. Like, and I think I've been touched maybe 1 or 2 other times out of the 50 plus investigations I've done. And that was hilarious.
It was pretty much him at Madison again, Olivia, when he hurtled over me. That was his reaction. But I remember
when he hurtled over you when he heard a pebble.
Yeah, I got thrown at him. But I remember Harrison like randomly started saying the Lord's Prayer. Because I remember like he started, he was like, Our Father,
like
who art in
on
heaven.
His own, or
no, like that's what he was
through.
he was coming through. So then we were finishing it. And then that's when you got touched, and I was like, okay, this is bizarre.
Yeah, it was.
But he said the doctor's name.
So,
hey,
yes, that's what
thing.
it was.
He said the doctor, like the guy who actually had put his personal money with another doctor.
Dr. Conley.
Yes, he says his name, and we were like, okay, this is getting weird.
Yeah. That was one of the craziest things, though,
and
because
that stupid Furby.
The Furby. I was wondering if the Furby would come up.
The Furby was that old hospital?
Yes,
the Furby was the old hospital.
The Gizmo Furby from Gremlins.
Why it was acting like a ghost in that basement where it's just...
I don't know.
And I was like, the Furby doesn't make this noise, and it's facing a empty room, and it's still motion activated.
I know. It's facing a
repeatedly.
dark wall.
Yeah.
And it was like mimicking a ghost noise. It was so creepy.
I forgot because originally me and you went down there by ourselves, and they went upstairs. We're like, let's separate. And I just remember you were sitting there, and that thing starts going off. I'm like, I am really uncomfortable because I had the laser grid set up. The laser grid was going off and on by itself. And then that Furby started talking, and then
it was a whole new level when you hear that creepy ghost noise.
Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, I thought about actually I thought about bringing it tonight, but I didn't want to like freak Caleb out bringing it into his house or something.
Bring it to old hospital.
Your Furby?
All right, yeah,
yes,
yeah. The Furby is my Furby, so
you just brought it with you.
Yeah, I was just like, well, Caleb was like, or Bravin and Caleb were just like, I don't know, bring something. And I was like, well, I don't have anything.
He's like, I'm bringing this creepy ass. I'm bringing this creepy ass
Furby. Like,
but yeah, he took it home. I was like, dude, that thing's possessed. You got to leave it there. Like,
take it with you.
I haven't put the batteries back in since. The battery's been out of it since.
Yeah,
okay,
just wait till you hear it talking.
Wait if it goes off, or what if it goes off without the batteries
Dude,
in it?
you have to burn it. You gotta
I don't know.
You gotta burn the whole house down.
I don't know.
It'd be scary, but it'd be really fucking cool.
It would be. I'd be like, okay, I'm really freaked out right now,
Yeah.
but this is awesome.
That for me was
Yeah.
terrifying.
Absolutely,
Did
yeah.
not like that.
I'll bring it back with us though, but I'm not leaving it. I can't leave it. It's
I mean,
like
that's
it's
when
like
I was
a piece
getting
of me.
touched in that basement. You guys were good 40 something yards away from me on the other end of the hallway, and I just kept repeatedly getting turn around,
That
look over
basement's
here,
creepy.
and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Touch
I don't
Caleb
need
on
to
the
look
right
over.
side if you need help. Guys, something just touched me on the right arm.
That
So
was
creepy.
super bizarre. Did you text her to bring you more?
I did.
Well played.
That was my loving wife bringing me more beverages of the alcoholic variety.
Very nice.
Shout out Beast, the Unleashed.
All right, so
Maybe they'll sponsor you.
what was your
No, probably not.
least favorite thing there?
Oh man, this is pretty tops.
Or maybe you're like your most uncomfortable moment, not necessarily like least favorite, but
I didn't really like the body cooler. I laid in it for a picture, but I didn't want
I had
to
to
be
fight you
closed
guys
in.
to get to lay in this thing. I was just like,
I
okay.
want to lay in it because I always see people.
We're going to put you in and just leave you there.
I had to fight them to lay in it with the door open. They wouldn't even let me shut it on
Well,
them.
wasn't it Project Fear that they got stuck in it?
They
Or
left
did-
No,
Dakota
they left
in
him
there
in there
for a
for,
couple
like,
Okay,
hours.
they
couple
left
hours.
him in there.
Well, then
Okay.
his wonky fell. He couldn't
Yeah.
get a hold of him. That's what
Oh,
happened. Remember that?
yeah.
Like, so that would be
I was
terrifying.
comfortable. The fact that he was
Dude, I
laying
would
in the
kill you
top
guys.
section is
Yeah,
what I'm like.
that's fucked.
Because like I laid in the bottom
And fell.
and fell. So like luckily I was not in the top because like I would have been severely injured.
And there's no hospital in that town anymore.
because we were
Because
in
we were in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cooler was gross.
I really didn't like that cooler. That was probably the most uncomfortable that I was.
Yeah, it's gonna
Also,
be
the
real-
basement, just in general,
It's gonna be real
is
weird when
real
your
creepy.
challenge for Old Hospital is laying that body cooler while we're not in
Well,
the building.
Now I'm expecting it.
So here's my
It's like,
question.
we're gonna go to the gas station and get snacks. You're gonna stay in here.
yes, yeah, you're just gonna lock me in there for an hour and leave, and then come
Yeah.
back.
So here's my question for you. Since you've been there, what is one thing you want to test or try out going back?
I don't know all the like types of investigation things that you guys do, but I'll tell you an area.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
I think that the area that intrigued me the most.
Someone make notes for this because this is his challenge.
Jot this down. Yeah. The area that intrigues me the most is either that third or fourth floor. There's some
Okay.
really creepy areas on that third and fourth floor, and even, God, I mean, everywhere's creepy. There's not a not creepy place, but in that nurses area, I think something.
Where they have the picture of that nurse at the end of the hallway. That is still to this day the best full figured. Remember
On the top
picture
that they
you
showed?
us, like the nurse where you can clearly see her.
Dude, that is filthy. Absolutely filthy. I need to see if Tanya can send it to me. I think it's Tanya.
I think so.
Tanya. Yeah, I think it's Tanya. It is literally the most, like, I'm going to say the word disgusting, but it's the most, like, and I say that in the most respectful way. It is the most disgusting full body apparition picture I have ever seen in my entire life. And when we went, they had taken that picture like 2 weeks before.
It's
It
like
was
that
like
ominous,
a
like,
recent.
The red light from the exit sign, and then you can fully see a dress, feet, legs, everything. It's.
And what's
that
crazy
creeped me
is
out.
that was the hallway that we heard that door slam and heard someone walk down the hallway and round the corner. It was that same hallway.
It just gives you an uneasy feeling in that hallway for some reason, or at least it did me the whole time.
I mean, the whole building is just like, I don't want to be here.
Even before you step foot in that place, though, I got the creeps for sure.
It looks cool. We got some really good pictures on the outside, but I think it'll be good. We've got a super good group going. Like I said, we've got Dr. Conley's house, which we're gonna. I was talking to Caleb earlier, and I think, we were all talking downstairs. I think what we might do is, since there's 5 of us, we can't do like an even split, but it might be kind of cool to have 2 or 3 people in the hospital and then send 2 or 3 people to Dr. Conley's house, because Dr. Conley's house is also haunted. So Tanya was telling us that when we were there, that they have a big clock in there, and the clock will like move times, and that has like a call system for like the servants'
Yeah, like
quarters.
the light would turn on.
The lights would turn on. It would sound like someone's calling. Like it's, and the funny thing is that they own 3 out of the 5 buildings that are on that hill. So that's the hospital, and then a gentleman actually lives in the house that's like directly next door to it. It looks like it's on property, and then the house that's right like working down the hill is Dr. Conley's house.
Yeah.
And then they own, I think it's I'm gonna say, well, the cottage is to the side,
yeah.
and then farther down the hill, I think it's a synagogue. I almost said Jewish
there was a
church,
synagogue,
but
but
it's.
I don't remember if they own that one.
I think they
or-
did. I think they were either they owned it or they were working
They were
on
trying
owning
to- I
it.
think they were trying to own it because they were talking about like they believe a lot of the stuff was kind of going back and forth because they've had a ton of activity there, or reports of it. But I remember her mentioning like I think they were trying to get it.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to do a whole lot of work to kind of help like restore that town, but it's.
Yeah.
I think it was a flood, might have been a fire. Whatever natural disaster came through really did a number on it. But
For sure.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited to go back are you?
Oh, like 10 for sure, because it was so creepy, and I'm so excited to go back.
You can drive through Kermit.
Through
Yeah.
Kermit.
I'd do it for you, Kermit.
Such a weird little town.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to go back to that gas station and see, like, hopefully they greet us the same way.
Like, what up, spooky bitches?
Yeah, hello.
You're back.
We're back.
Well, what's crazy is like when we got there at like 5 or 6 last time, and it was still sunny out until like 8 or 9. It's gonna be December when we go, so it's gonna be dark at like noon.
The
It's gonna be
second we
cold.
get
It's gonna
there.
be cold as shit.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the weather, but I just washed my nice spooky jacket that Caleb and I bought, or that I bought for when Caleb and I did Monroe, just the two of us. But so, old hospital. Now we're gonna fast forward 3 or 4 months to Hinsdale.
Hinsdale was in June?
June or
or
July?
Yeah, that sounds right. In the midsummer somewhere.
I'm so excited that we finally get to talk about this. I've been chomping at the bit. I mean, I know both Caleb and I have, and Olivia's had to really professionally, like, guys, this is not the focus of this podcast.
It's just you want to talk about it so
The
much. so-
the last one we were talking about Ohio, and Maya started talking about Cleopatra.
Okay, it started with the serpent
You remember that, right?
mounds. It started with the serpent mounds, which turned into
Grand
just
Canyon.
burials
Yeah.
and this and that.
Pyramids.
Which turned into Cleopatra, which then turned
Went through the
into
ringer.
like just aliens,
it'd be like
conspiracy
that, bro.
theories, and then they were like, oh, and then Hinsdale, and I'm like, hey,
The funny
that's
thing
in
is,
New
like,
York.
Right.
the very first
Not
podcast,
Ohio.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ohio things
Yeah.
here.
we were like, guys, if we can at least make it 30 minutes, we'll be set.
was like
we're
2 hours.
We're 42 minutes in right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 42 minutes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's so fun because like you just get going and you're just talking and it's just like, oh shit, we've been talking for
Yeah.
an hour and a half. But
No,
Like, I
Hinsdale.
think it would be hard to
That
like go on like
episode
a
I-
random person's podcast that you don't know, and then have like an hour and a half conversation. Like people like imagine going on a Rogan. And it's like a 3.5
Yeah.
hour podcast. Like for someone that you've never met. Like granted, the dude knows questions and stuff, but
Oh,
it's
for
like when you're just sitting with your friends, like we would be having this exact same conversation downstairs
in person, yeah, we would just be
Absolutely.
sitting on the
Like,
couch
it's
without all
super
this tech
easy.
in front of us.
100%.
Well, it all started with our conversations on the way to locations, and we just yapped, and we were like, we need a podcast.
We could definitely talk about this. Definitely talk. Well, and it's when we have guests on, like if we're calling in, like we try to keep it like 90 minutes or less, but like we're just gonna chat because I mean we're 40 minutes in and we still got lots of shit
Lots
to
of
talk
stuff
about.
to talk about.
But Hinsdale,
Yeah.
I'm so fucking excited to finally be able to talk about Hinsdale. Morgan,
Yeah. So what do you want? What are we going to talk about it?
let's just start.
What happened?
Let's just start. So Hinsdale, the Hinsdale house, Dan Claes, you're the man for keeping that house alive, letting people come and investigate it. It is fantastic if you guys get the opportunity to go. It's like $350. You can sleep there. It's in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. But the guides are fantastic. The house itself is not super big, but tons of history. They're constantly working on saving stuff. But walk us through Hinsdale.
First of all, I'm going to throw out that there's no cell phone reception there. And that's the first sign, it's like, okay, something, if you need to call someone or text someone or whatever, you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to go stand by the road and probably just send anything.
And get abducted.
So, yeah, and get abducted. So, like, I didn't know a lot about it other than probably watching a Project Fear, before we went. And so, again, like, my expectations were just like, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And do it. So, going in there, and it's pretty compacted in there, and you get pretty close with whoever you're in there pretty quick. But I just remember it kind of, the whole property gives you this eerie feeling.
That
guys
was
put that down at the
super
same
on
time?
Well, we lifted up and took a drink and sat down at the same time on sync.
Synchronized.
That's how we do.
Brothers.
Bromance.
But I remember just being in that property is creepy because, it's probably a couple acres at a minimum.
I think it's like 1 or 2, maybe 3.
I would say more than 1 or 2.
Big
Like
Bravo-
for the total property.
A handful.
Nothing around it.
Yeah.
Like it's a gravel road leading up to it, and just like, it's creepy. They go, and the property people who took us around were super cool, super knowledgeable, blah, blah, blah stuff. And the house it gives you this creepy vibe just from standing outside of it. Just from like, there's kind of like wiring on the windows and stuff like that just kind of give you this feeling that, I don't know, it gives you the creeps just looking at it. But I didn't know a lot about it. I guess how deep, where do you want to start? Like what?
I think let's start on the drive up.
All right.
Because from Columbus, so normally what happens, like when we do investigations, I am a little bit of a control freak to a certain degree. I like to drive. Like, I don't know what it is. I like to drive. But everyone met at my place. We borrowed my aunt's minivan, Honda Odyssey cruising, 5 dudes. It was us,
4 dudes.
or 4 dudes. It was us 3 plus Brent. We drove up. It took 5.5 hours to get up there. Super cool drive. And we were maybe like an hour and a half out. And we were just talking about all sorts of random shit. And I was like, hey, have you guys heard of Dr. Stephen Greer? Dr. Stephen Greer, if you guys don't know who he is, he's super well known in the the supernatural, like alien space. Did some work, I believe, at Area 51. He's been on Rogan a couple times, I think.
Doesn't he like work with like every sitting president that comes in?
Yeah,
he meets with them to go over.
He's like an extraterrestrial advisor for like each presidency. It's so fucking
wild.
crazy.
That's insane.
Which until like a year ago they were like, this doesn't exist. Now they're just like, it definitely exists. It's
just
in all
another
the CIA
check mark.
Just throw it out there.
Another check mark
Yeah.
for the conspiracy theorists. But he has this documentary that he put out called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And each Close Encounters type stands for something. And I'm going to butcher the shit out of them. But each, like Close Encounters of the first kind is like you see a spacecraft or like you see something in the sky. Second kind is you see an alien. Third kind is like you see an alien in a spacecraft. And fourth kind is you get abducted. I probably butchered the crap out of that, but it is what it is. The fifth kind, Dr. Stephen Greer basically termed himself, and it is when you bring the aliens to you through like astral projection in your cosmic conscience. Now, guys, we're going to go like really off the fucking deep end here, but it's fantastic. So he has this documentary. It's like 2 hours long. My brother Ian showed it to me. He called me at like 2 hours. He's like, Brev, you have to watch this. He's like, it'll bake your fucking noodle, but he's like, you have to watch it. And we were just talking about all sorts of random shit. I mean, we're like-minded bros going to get spooky at some random place in New York. And I was like, oh, it might be kind of cool to try it out. So we're like, fuck it, we'll do it. So we looked into it a little bit, and we're like, we'll do it, but we'll get to that. But let's talk about like the paranormal stuff that happened.
Okay, so paranormal first.
Yeah, paranormal first at the Hinsdale house. Which, honestly, like, if I'm being honest with you, I can't really remember a ton of paranormal stuff that happened while we were there because of what happened extraterrestrial-wise.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of shadow play in the kitchen when we were on the first floor doing SDs and, you know, trying little experiments. But I just remember a lot
And then whatever
of, like,
happened to Brent?
Yeah, still haven't. We don't know what actually he heard through the SDs, but he won't talk about it.
Yeah, that was pretty pretty wild. Just seeing their reaction, like a very visceral reaction from someone.
Like he went from
that.
like, oh, you know, I'm real relaxed, like nothing creeps me out, to just like, I'm done. And we're like, you good? And he goes, yep, I don't need to talk about it. I'm done. I was just like,
yeah,
okay.
something came through. He was sitting in the
I'm not gonna
kitchen.
push it.
We're in the living room, and he's like, nope, done. And we're like, you good? He's like, yeah. I was like, what is it? He's like, nope. And I haven't even asked him since then. Like, that was almost 6 months ago, and we're just like,
He heard
kinda
something,
like,
I just don't know what
how
it
many
is.
licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
Yeah.
We will never know what came through.
The shadows in that kitchen were crazy though.
Yeah.
Like, because we were in the living room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had like a REM pod and like some of those little
I
cat
do
ball.
remember hearing the little jingles on the door that were hanging up in the other room. Those went off like at
The
one
bells
point,
on the
like,
door?
The
Yeah.
bells. And I remember like,
It's one of the creepiest noises.
what is that noise? And we run in there
So
and we hear like
creepy.
ching ching. And there's like, nothing could have moved that. Like the windows are closed. They're
They're
like
sealed.
you said, they're literally like bars across them to keep people out or keep somebody in. I don't know. But it was going off. Then I remember going upstairs,
That was the crazy part. Yes. I'm glad you brought
And-
that up.
having music box, REM pod, 2 cat balls, and the motion light
Yeah.
all turn on at the exact same moment. And I've still to this day, I've never had 4 pieces. I've had 3.
Yep.
I've never had 4 until that day.
I've got the clip on my phone, and like just watching that and watching all those things go off at the same time is pretty wild. And you guys probably all collectively each just have a lot more experience in places you've gone, but seeing that happen all at one time, because even just seeing a music box go off is enough to freak me out.
I've never seen that happen ever. Like Caleb said, like we've seen 2, 3, but 4 of them all going off at the same time, and one.
And technically, it was 5 with that motion light.
And the motion light isn't even ours. Like the motion light just stays in the building, and it only goes off when something comes up and down the stairs. And all of those objects interact with each other differently.
Mm-hmm.
So like the music box was on a table looking into the little girl's room. There was a cat ball on that table
And on the fire extinguisher.
and on the fire extinguisher. And then the REM pod was at the top of the stairs. And then the motion sensor was like, 3 or 4 steps down?
I don't remember how many.
I can't remember if it was on like the bottom of the first step or something.
There's
like
one on
that,
the bottom,
or
then there's one on the top.
Either way, it was,
all at once.
yeah. And then did
So
you get
creepy.
touched in the closet? Or...
I think that was Caleb, or no, I can't.
You got touched, but I remember I was doing the SDs in the closet, and right when I said like behind or something, the REM pod turned off, and it's that mirror. That closet.
Yeah, because there's a mirror in the back of the closet.
Yeah,
Cause,
feels like
because why
something-
not?
I do something like maybe graze the back of my neck or something like that. But
I remember asking something to touch you, and then right then you literally start like moving, like reaching back, and I'm like,
Yeah,
he
that
got
was
touched.
yeah.
And you were like, yeah, my back like felt
Oh
weird there. And I was
guys,
like, yeah.
something's playing with my neck.
well, the craziest thing is, that alone would be enough to freak me out. But then the stuff that happened later kind of made me put that other stuff on the back burner for me.
It was safer in the house.
It
bro.
was safer in the
It felt
house.
safer in the house.
After this is faster forwarding, but like when we got done with everything and we ended up sleeping, I got back in the house and I was like, okay, it's time to sleep. And
Yeah.
I'm comfortable in here.
I
Like this is
slept
fine.
Great. That
Like,
was
yeah.
one of the best sleeps that I've had at any time. Like I've slept at one of these locations. I remember laying down. Normally I toss and turn. Like I struggle to fall asleep. I was out. I didn't even wake up once to you snoring. And
Dude, you
the
sound like you
listeners,
cut
he sounds
logs,
like
bro.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's a jackhammer on the other side of the house, and you will hear it. And I was zoned out, sleeping good.
It's like a meditation bell.
I
Like, just
tell-
my snoring.
I tell people that some of the best sleep that you'll ever have is in some haunted locations. Like, Olivia, don't yell at me. As an aside, Caleb and I investigated Pine Lawn, and it's a old nursing home down in Southern Illinois. We were the first team to actually successfully stay overnight. All the other teams got run out of this building, and it was
leaving.
We ain't leaving.
Not scared.
We drove 5.5 hours.
Yeah, we were like, I don't
We ain't
care.
leaving for shit.
You got to drag me out.
Even then, it's like I'm still not leaving. Like I'm still going to sleep there. But we were sleeping in this nurse's station because I mean it's bad. Like the conditions are terrible, and no heat, no power, no electricity, no running water, like nothing. Like Seth had to poop outside. Like
in the grass.
He had diarrhea, like,
no.
he's like holding him, like someone's holding him, and he's just like diarrheaing on this bush. And the funniest thing is like when he leaned back forward, a long bush like came and smacked him on the other side of the nuts, like as he was standing up. sorry, Seth, I have to bring that in, but it just.
I forgot they were out there. I was like, man, I gotta pee. And I just remember walking out and I'm peeing. I look over and I was like,
what the fuck
what is going on? And I was like, nope, I'm going back inside.
So we were sleeping. So like when you walk into the building, it like goes to the left and to the right. The right side is just a long hallway. The left side goes down and then it kind of like L's. So there's like 2 rooms to the left at the end of the hallway, and then it goes down another long hallway. And all the windows were broken out. Really gross. So we're sleeping in the nurse's station because it was the only room that had like a door. Now the door had like a glass window that was broken, and all like what 8 or 9 of us. I think 8 of us, and then Brian's brother Matt was sleeping in some far ass end away down in some nurse's or in some patient's room in the bed. I'm like, dude,
He locked himself in there, like put a couch in front of him because he kept hearing the door trying to open up.
Oh my god!
The door kept opening. So, like, as another aside, the door kept opening, and he pushed a couch in front of it, and we went to get him in the morning, and we walked in and opened the door, and he's like, how the fuck did you get in here? And we're like, we opened the door, and he's like, I pushed a couch in front of that door. So, that's aside. But we were sleeping. I'm sleeping with my head to this door, and Caleb is sleeping...
Like, I'm up against the door, and, like, my feet are towards his head.
Yeah, so we're kind of sleeping in, like,
a big L.
Like an L. And we hear someone rummaging through our shit because we got snacks. We like have lots of food, and someone's rummaging through our snacks, and we hear someone dragging a chair like back and forth down the hallway. And then I just happen to just like kind of like look up like this, and I see the outline of a man wearing a hat. And Caleb sees it too, and I'm just like, nope. I pulled my hood over my head, tugged the strings, and just rolled over and was like, not my fucking problem.
I was like, I'll deal with it in the morning. I went back to sleep.
Yeah, it's like some of the best sleep you'll have is in these haunted buildings, because it's like, okay, if you want to fuck with my sleep, like, okay, like, whatever. Like, you're not going to, if you drag me out by my ankles, like, that's just going to make me squeal, and it's going to be fantastic, but no one's going to believe me. But some of the best sleep you'll ever have is in these haunted buildings. So back to Hinsdale.
Yeah.
We investigated till about midnight. We did a couple little things out in the woods, because those of you guys that have been there know what we're talking about. There's that offering tree. Those of you guys that don't know, if you walk out the back of the house, past the fire pit, up the hill, there's a tree where ghost hunters, because we're real weird, leave like gifts. The last time I was there, before the time that we all went,
a jar of teeth.
Yeah, there was a jar of teeth.
It's wild.
Yeah, people leave just all sorts of weird shit. But about midnight, and we're sitting outside, and Brent tells us a story. Do you guys want me to tell about that driver?
I wouldn't tell that. Like, if Brent wants to.
Yeah, that feels right.
So Brent told us this story, like the guys just said. Brent told us this story. It was fascinating, and we're like, guys, should we do the C5 protocol? Which is what that whole Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind is. And basically the premise of it is you do like this guided meditation for 20 minutes. And we downloaded the app. So Dr. Stephen Greer, you're welcome for the $10 that I sent you. But it's a pre-recorded, like, it walks you
Guided
through
meditation.
Walks through this process, and you're essentially supposed to put your cosmic conscience out into the universe. And you're supposed to, you know, like on Google Maps, when you zoom, like you drop a pin and you like zoom out, you can just see yourself. You're supposed to do that in your mind, and you're supposed to like say, like tell the aliens, like, hey, I'm here and I want to communicate with you. Like, this is where I'm at. So you're supposed to kind of like zoom yourself out and then like zoom yourself back in so they can see exactly where you're at. And we did it, and
like, what was when you first started? Like, what was your thoughts like
when we first started doing the C5
were
stuff?
you like, okay, I'm about this, like?
I mean, I've done like meditation just for like meditative purposes before, but like this, I was kind of like, all right, you know, like let's just do it, all four of us, if we're all doing it at the same time, like why not? And then listening to this guided thing that Dr. Greer did was like added another level to it because he's got a soothing voice. There's like some sounds going on in the background, and I didn't really know what to expect about it. So it's just like, yeah, let's just do it.
When we were like started, like I've never meditated. Like I don't get into it. So I'm like in my head, I'm like, this is complete BS. I was like, but everybody else wants to do it. I'm like, I'll entertain it. Like I'm like,
you were open to trying something
like,
new.
I would say like
it kind of goes hand in hand.
Like into it, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to picture like, you guys are all facing the house, and I'm facing these woods. Because you're like, well, someone has to watch the woods in case something comes out of the woods, like a fox or something, and tries to attack us. I'm like, okay.
If a fox attacks me and I lose, then that's just on me.
But the whole time I'm sitting there like, okay, it's hard to focus on this dude talking when I'm looking in these extremely ominous woods, and it's terrifying, but just like, all right, whatever. I'll try it. I'll try to focus whatever I can, because I was like, well, if 1 out of 4 of us do it correctly, then maybe something. But
it was insane.
Bonkers.
Like, I remember at one point we're doing this guided meditation, and I just felt like my shoulders just dropped. Like I just felt like my whole body just went, whew. Like it was weird. And it was a little ominous sitting outside, like Caleb said. And I mean, I was staring at the house because there's a fire pit in the back, and we basically all sat in a circle, but our backs were to the fire. So I was looking towards the house. Morgan or Brent, one of you was looking at the lake or the pond, and one of you was looking like into the woods, and then Caleb was looking up the trail. And we were doing this meditation, and we're like 18 minutes in out of this 20-minute meditation, and Brent is like, guys, look up. And this is what blows my mind the most.
So let's let Morgan explain.
Yeah.
I just
okay.
It's not.
Yes.
Because Olivia's heard us tell the story multiple times, and it's like just to solidify.
But I want to hear, because since the day we haven't really talked about it. So like, it'd be interesting like hearing your perspective too, to see like maybe fill in the gaps. But like so my perspective, we all sat like almost like a north, south, east, west thing, like
so we could all kind of see every direction
back to back. And since then we haven't really talked about it. So this is but Brent says, guys, look up, and we all kind of open our eyes. And I was at this point, I was very relaxed, like 18 minutes into this meditation, I'm like, all right, I feel pretty good. So I slowly opening my eyes, and I didn't see what it was at first, but then I saw Brent looking over into the sky, and there was this big, I'm gonna have it look like a big star. I'm not gonna call it a plane because there's no lights like a plane has as you see it flying through the sky, but just a big solid light way away, far away. And what caught my eye about it from where I was sitting was that it wasn't like it was a shooting star or a meteor that was going across the sky, or like, how a rocket would go from ground up or backwards. This was like this light, I remember, coming like in a direction at us, very slowly, but enough that you could easily be like, okay, that's coming towards us and getting closer, but it's not like you could reach out and touch it. This bright light is coming closer and closer and closer towards us, but still far away. And I remember all of us just being like, you guys are all seeing this, right? Like, this is not just me seeing this. Like, everybody is seeing this light, and it was coming at us, and I'm just like, I'm sure my mouth was wide open, like, just staring at this. But while that's happening, I think it was right around that same time we started seeing these green flashes in the sky. So the closest I can like even say is like, if you've ever been to Florida where you see heat lightning, but it wasn't heat lightning. This was like green flashes in the sky.
The sky was clear. Like
clear.
It was
You
one of the
stars.
clearest night, like stars. We were even seeing like the galaxy gases. Like it was huge. And the one thing that I want to add, like when Brent said, guys, look into the sky, that's all he said was just look up into the sky. We all looked at the same spot. Like Caleb had to physically turn around.
Yeah.
And everyone looked at the same spot. So it was like, guys, look at the sky at 3:00. It was, guys, look up. And we were just all, bam.
Pinpointed.
And like this is tracking to what we've said, and like Morgan just said, we haven't talked about it. We talked about it on the drive down for like hours. We're like trying to rationalize what the fuck just happened, but like it's tracking, right? Okay, continue.
Outside of this room,
Yeah.
I've talked to my wife about this, and I talked to one of my best friends and my brother-in-law, and that's it. Like I haven't talked to anybody about it. Like I just
no one would believe it.
I just am like
no one would believe it.
I can kind of read the room. Like nah, I'm not gonna go down.
Do you guys want to hear about this alien shit that happened?
Yeah, you want to hear something crazy? But yeah, that light and then these green flashes. I think we all just kind of, it was like we were kind of like immediately like we were like, okay, whatever's in the woods that we are worried about, that's Caleb was looking at, like whatever. All right,
Not a problem.
that's
anymore.
not an issue anymore. Or like, there's these bodies that are supposedly buried in that ground at the Hinsdale. Not even worried about that anymore. I think that all of us could focus on is this light coming towards us, and then these green random flashes that were out throughout the time. I mean, over 10 times for sure. Because we were out there for how long?
Remember, I walked around the house because I was like, maybe it's the
floodlight.
The floodlight. And I went over there. I'm moving around, and it turns on. I'm like, is that it? Everybody's like, no, not at all. It's not what we're seeing. I'm like, okay, cool.
And
coming back around.
Like the crazy thing about that object that appeared in the sky, it was moving at 90-degree angles. So it wasn't like a plane. It's gonna go like it's gonna follow a trajectory. This device
went in a straight line,
or whatever it was, is shooting in a straight line and stopping, and then changing direction. So it would move like to the left, and it would stop, and then it would move down, and then it would move up. Like it there's no like, and it's what, 1 a.m, which like
Probably.
even to the time thing, like I'll touch on it at the end, but like we ended up restarting the CE5 session because we didn't complete the full 20 minutes. So all that shit's going on, and we're like, okay, like let's calm ourselves back down and let's do it again. And
I
then
don't think we made it 10 minutes into that time. And
then the second time, like what happened the second time?
I don't see. My mind is blocked out from that part. I'm not gonna lie to you. So
let me ask you.
So, yeah.
Do you remember looking in the woods towards the ground, like straight?
You're
across from
talking
us?
if we're sitting at the fire pit, we are looking.
No, when we were on the
past the
side of the
house?
house.
Like looking, like the house is to your left and the pond is to your right, and
You were
you're
just
looking straight across.
in the woods.
I don't remember anything. I feel like my mind got just
Blocked.
zapped.
Because I remember just seeing a
refresh
light
my memory.
appear, and then it was like
It was pulsing.
pulsing.
I'm counting that as the white light that I saw. I don't know that it was pulsing from where I was sitting.
So we were seeing a pulsing blue light in the woods. Now we were there was a house over there.
Through the woods, past the house, across the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But we're not sure. Like even when we got up in the morning, like there's nothing there. There's nothing there that would be pulsing blue. And then what happened when we closed it? So like, okay, let me explain what I mean by like closing it out. So when you guys go and investigate, whether you are religious or not, it's a really good practice to like do some type of protection practice like when you get there. Like me personally, I say a protection prayer like, hey, you have to stay here. You don't have permission to follow me home. Like whatever's here has to stay here, that type of thing. And then I do it when I leave. Now, when you do the CE5 stuff, you're supposed to kind of treat it the same way. Like at the very end, you're like, hey, we're super appreciative of you traveling across the galaxy or whatever the hell it was, traveling to us to talk to us. Like we are, I don't want to say releasing you because like we're not in charge of them, but like, hey, you're able to go back. Like we're no longer open for business. Like we don't want to talk to you. So I'm doing this spiel, and like at this point we'd moved to the gravel road in front of the house.
I wish we would have recorded that.
I know.
I don't remember what he said at all, but I remember he finished. We were like,
I was going hard. Like
that
I
was like Abe Lincoln with the Gettysburg Address.
Yeah.
Like that was a damn good speech.
It was a damn good speech, and
I was
Take it
on
away.
edge. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even feel comfortable telling the rest of the story because I was looking around, left shoulder, right shoulder. I mean, I was so freaked out at the end of that point that it's blurry for me. For at the end of that, I
Do
don't
you remember the noises at all?
know.
Oh my
Damn.
dude. Okay.
Like
Man,
when I tell you that I don't remember the end of it,
You blocked it out.
I don't remember the end of it. I remember standing in the gravel road, and I remember looking into the sky. But I remember looking around. Like, I don't know that I was seeing like right at that point, because I'm just like so freaked out by what we had just seen.
So I'm closing this out, and we're all kind of standing in a circle. I'm doing my Abe Lincoln speech, and I'm saying, like, I'm telling them that they can go back, like, we're appreciative for all the communication, like how I normally do. And on the right side of me, like, off into the distance, I see a star just disappear.
We were watching
And then the
stars
sky
disappear.
flashes green. Like, it's just boof. Like, green, just, it's like a green explosion. And then we're watching all of these stars just disappear. Like, not just like, oh, they're fading. They're fucking gone. And then we hear the sonic booms.
The sonic booms.
remember
I do remember the sonic booms.
I thought they were trucks.
And we were like, dude, we're nowhere near. Because I remember, boom.
They were loud. Like, boom. Like, now, we were 15 miles into the fucking sticks.
There's no
freaking way that there is going to be any type of semi anywhere near us.
No, the roads were not semi roads.
Now, here's...
Also, a semi is not going to sound like that.
No. And here's the even crazy part. How long did you think we were out there for?
I don't know. It felt like 40 minutes or something like that.
We were out there for 3 hours.
Oh my God.
We lost 3 hours of time because I remember, like, all right, like, let's go back into the house. And then I look at my watch and it's like 3:15 in the morning. And I'm like, we started this at midnight.
Yeah.
We lost 3 hours of time.
I do remember that concept of time was really blurred after that. Like it just felt like it went so quick.
Like it.
So the way I've described it is like, think back your entire life. You know, besides that night, how many shooting stars have you seen? Looking up the sky, any given time.
Like, not much.
Was it not like 30 shooting stars that were all like, there's another one. There's another one. They were like, the sky was so active, and I've never seen anything like. I remember we even looked up the satellite like
ISS
flight patterns to see where like, okay, at this location would anything be over us? Like, remember Brent pulling it up? No, nothing flew over us during that time. Nothing was in the area at all. I don't know.
Between the shooting stars and those green flashes that I remember in the sky,
The flash is what really had me on edge.
Well, the one flash, it like lit up in front of the house. Like, it wasn't like up in the sky. It was like,
it was to the left of the house. Like,
yeah, it was
by
just
the electrical box. But I'm like, that was a big
like eye
green
level. Like,
flash.
it wasn't even in the sky. It was just like something just poof. And it happened twice or 3 times.
I thought it was like 4 times. I just remember there was a bunch, and I'm like, am I the only one seeing this? Am I losing my mind? And you guys were like, nope, there's a green light. I'm like, okay.
I remember the one in the sky when I was closing it out so vividly because I was talking and it happened and I saw something disappear and I was like, and there's one leaving. Like, I vividly remember that.
I just remember we were seeing like, I'm pretty sure it was a deer, but we were just seeing those eyes like
Oh,
right
oh
off the
yes,
edge.
I remember that over by the pond.
I'm like, hold on. No, not over by the pond. When we moved to the front of the house, when we were like kind of saying like the ending, the goodbyes. I remember we were seeing them. We were like, what if this ain't no deer?
Oh yeah, we were making all sorts of skinwalker and like, oh my god, skinwalker and what's the other word?
Alien.
No, not alien.
The W word?
Wendigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word you're not supposed to say. Well, but then
Which
also,
I said it like 10 times. I was like, let it happen.
well, remember we were seeing. It's like if you walk out the back of the house, like because we were like, our gabbers were flaccid. Like we were having such a hard time trying to rationalize what was going on, and like. We're all pretty smart guys. Like, we're trying to rationally, like, explain this. Like, there was no way to rationally explain it. We're looking to the left. Like, if you walk out the back of the house, we're looking to the left, and we're seeing shadows move at the top of the trees. Like, it was like something was, like, back there. But these trees are, like, 30, 40 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And we were out on the front of the house, and remember you saw something move in front of the van. Move in front of the van.
And I did not want to walk back up there. I'm like, dude, something just moved from the house to the van. And I was like, I don't know if this is paranormal, this is extraterrestrial, something is here, and someone else walk up there first.
The whole night was, after we went outside, was so creepy. And even I was outside with you guys the whole time. that chunk of time that I remember, I was right beside you guys, but there's a period of time where I can't remember things. Just because I think I was so like overstimulated with the things that were going on. I'm just
Turns out Morgan was actually abducted. And then they implanted him back into us, but when we went to sleep, we were seeing an illusion of him or something.
So, Olivia, you've heard me and Caleb talk about it, and you've heard Morgan talk about it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on it? Because like you've heard, like we obviously didn't brief Morgan before, like, hey, make sure you tell this to Olivia, like
that I know of. I'm
we
not
did.
saying.
No, we did. But like, what do you think?
Well, for starters, I fully believe you guys. I mean, I fully believe all of you. But out of the three, Caleb is like the biggest anti-bullshitter that I've ever met in my entire life. Like, if something's stupid, if there's any doubt about anything, he's going to look at you and be like, no.
He's like, that's fucking stupid.
And even, like, when we go investigate, like, it's very hard to get him fully spooked. Yeah. So for him to sit here, and especially at the beginning, he's like, I was just doing it to entertain you guys. And then at the end of the night, like, I fully believe you guys.
Still, I that's why I've even said, I remember driving back, I'm like, okay, was it some, like,
but, like, it also
guided meditation, like, just messing with us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know enough about meditation. I'm like, could it make us see shit? I don't know.
But it also goes into, too, like, one of our biggest things is, like, we try to actively debunk anything.
There's no debunking
and so,
anything.
Even with that, it's like you guys tried to debunk it. And you're like, it's not a plane. And, like, the noises, you're like, it's not the semis. It's not the road. Like, what else could have done that?
And I think that between Caleb, Bravin, and Brent and we all, for a couple hours.
And Brent, too. I trust Brent.
We all looked around and tried to figure out any way that was possible. Or even like that light that you guys said was blue that was through the woods across from the house. Like, we tried to think of everything. Yeah. That could it be walking down the road to see if we could see it from different angles, see if it was something that, like, did we see something in the trees, like someone's house or something, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And it didn't change. Like, I mean, you got to think from the road to closer to the pond. I mean, that's, my backyard's 3/4 of an acre, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, we were at least 3/4 of an acre. How did, at that point, there's going to be trees. Like, this was woods. Why did that light not change? I'm sorry, but if you have a light on your garage, depending on the angle you look at, you're going to see some deviation of it.
It's almost like we were looking dead on the entire time. Like, no matter where we were walking, it was almost like it was just...
too. So why would it be pulsating? I just remember just, like, it was glowing. Like, it was growing. And I'm like, what is going on? And why it just magically turned on during that time? Like, it was like, just someone wake up at, like, 2 in the morning and was like, I need to turn my garage light on.
Yeah,
and that
was in my head. I'm like, what?
Yeah, not that kind of blue. No. This was like the translucent colors of at least the green that I remember. Yes. Green's very vivid in my mind.
That green, because it wasn't like a neon green. It was literally just a quick boom, green.
What it reminded me of is, that flashlight that Brent had, that green one. That's what it was. That color green, like it was a deep forest green, but it was like it was light, and like. I'm telling you, like, out of everything that we had happen, and when we're closing it out and that star disappearing and that green flash appearing, like, that's like burned into my memory. Like, it's.
I remember being a smartass too. And I was like, watch, we're gonna look up and the stars are gonna disappear, and then you ended it happened. I'm like, yeah, okay. Why did I say that?
Yeah, and even like. To your comment about the guided meditation messing with you, like, there was nothing that says, all right, when you are sending your cosmic conscience, you're going to tell these aliens to flash green. It's just, it was very much like,
and there was no way I was focusing enough, because like the whole time I'm like,
you were so on edge. Walk you were so on edge.
Woods and attack me, and I'm like,
it's a deer on.
Everybody's turned around the other way. I got to get ready to get attacked, and I got to be prepared to protect people.
Right.
I'm like, I'm listening, but I'm keeping one eye open in case I get stabbed by something.
Yeah, it was just very high level. Like, just open yourself up and put yourself out there, and like invite any entities, or he uses like an actual term. He used an actual term, and I can't remember what it actually was, but it was something along those lines. And I'm just like, okay, this is cool, and then shit just got stupid.
The whole experience was wild, and I think the part that makes it wild for me is that you guys didn't. It wasn't a planned thing, as opposed to, I mean, 1 hour before the last hour of the trip, I think that Brent, you guys were talking about it, like bringing it up, like
I had never even heard of it until we were on that drive, and I was like,
because it's a
all right,
5-hour drive, and we were trying to find shit to talk about,
Yep.
and we were just
Also, it's not like you guys just saw like one flashing green light, and that was the only thing that happened all night, or you guys just saw the thing moving. Like, you guys had a ton.
It could have been just that
of
first
things
light that we saw in the
going
sky,
on.
and I would have been like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But then it piled on, and I'm like, dial
Because I
it
remember
back a
when you
little
guys
bit. Don't be
first
abducting
told me
me.
the story
Right.
the very first time you guys got into it, you're like, I saw this flashing light going like this, in and out. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, you guys kept on going and going and going. And I was like, what the hell?
and the one thing
so wild.
Caleb and I, we did like, us and our wives, we did a trip down to Caleb's cabin, and we did a CE5 session there, and nothing happened.
Not a thing.
Like, it
Yeah,
would have been,
Me and Bravin were just sitting out there in the field. Nothing. Wow. And I'm like,
and it would have been different if it was like, okay, shit started appearing. Okay, then it's like, okay, maybe it's a
Then it's the
psychosomatic,
guided
maybe it's a
meditation.
psychosomatic response.
So this was after the
yeah, this was
Hinsdale
probably
trip, right?
a month after or so.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and what's funny is my brother Ian, my I have 4 siblings, so it goes myself, Ian, my sister Marin, and then my youngest sister my youngest sister. He acts like my sister, but my youngest brother Camden. Ian has done the CE5 protocol with my dad several times. And side note, if you guys ever do it, make sure you do it with a partner. Don't ever do it by yourself. There's no documentation that anyone has ever been like injured doing this process, but if you're going to do it, make sure you do it with another person.
Cautionary.
But
Yeah,
also
just in case.
watch the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind documentary with Dr. Stephen Greer. He walks you through how to do it, and it's evidence after evidence after evidence. They also talk about how the U.S. government used midgets to stage alien abductions for foreign governments. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. But my dad and Ian have had things appear just in the backyard, and they've been able to track them. And we've invited my dad several times to come and investigate with us, and he's like, "You guys wouldn't want me to come investigate with you. I'm too big of a skeptic." And it's like everything that when we investigate, like which we pride ourselves in so much, everything has it's environmental. It's someone moving. It's Caleb's stomach growling. It's Seth's stomach growling. Like it's someone shifting.
possible.
It's a car outside. Unless if we run through all those scenarios and then it isn't, even he is like, I don't understand how that is. Like he was telling this story where he was laying in. My dad thinks he's a mountain man. I love him to pieces. He lives in suburban Hilliard, and he sleeps outside in his hammock in the backyard.
For the record, that sounds awesome. Yeah.
He's laying there and he sees this object just like appear in the sky, and then it's doing that same type of tracking where it's moving and then stopping and just doing all sorts of weird shit. And he's like, I got to the point where I was like, I was up and like looking, and he's like, I don't know what it is, but stuff like that happens every once in a while.
I mean, I completely didn't believe it when his brother was telling me. I was like, yeah, no. He was like, no, Dad did it too. And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
If he's saying something's going on, like Ian, like I love Ian, but I'm like, come on, bro. Come on.
Going off
No.
those two things, I also want to say this too, because not that this just kind of came to my mind. If anybody is too thinking of like, the Starlink stuff in the sky where the satellites are in the sky, this is not like that.
We have
'cause
seen the Starlink before.
I've watched videos. Those Starlink satellites went over our house one night when I was in it, and
I will
it's pretty
say,
sweet
the
to
first
see
time
it.
you see it, you're like, what in the world is that? And then you're like, oh, it's,
they
9
have
satellites
one of
in a
those,
perfect row. Like they're
Yes.
not moving formation.
Very
That's what they have
linear.
out at ISS, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, and like when we saw that object like appear, like okay, when you look up into the sky, you see stars. They're small. In my mind, now maybe I'm like hyper focusing on it or something like that. that you were gonna sneeze. It appeared to like the size of like a dime. Like if you would have held a dime up into the sky, like okay, arms stretched out, you're looking at it. It that light appeared, like whatever the fuck it was, appeared in the size of a dime in the sky. I don't know if like that's just me. Maybe my mind was like fucking up or something like that, or like I don't know what your guys' thought. It was big enough that it was not a star.
Right. Like it's not like if you take the moon, that's a huge object. But
Yeah.
this was like, you know, if you like a set of marbles, like a small marble versus a big marble.
Yeah.
Regular star being a small marble and this object being a giant. The big marble is a good size comparison, probably to what you're going off of. Like you could pick it out very easily. Like it was not just a star in the sky, like size wise.
Yeah.
That's
It. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that we were able to talk about it because I've been like, I know Caleb and I, we've been chomping at a bit to talk about it. It's just like, it's so wild to like hear it again and to hear like your perspective, because that was like the second investigation that you ever did. And we're like, fuck it, let's do the CE5. Let's see what happens. And like Caleb said, like, again, I was super into it because like I brought it up, but I was like, okay, this might be a little bead, like a little bullshitty. But I felt my shoulders drop. I know I said it before. Like I felt my shoulders drop, and I just felt like there's just weight off my. I don't know what it was, and then all of a sudden Brent's like, "Guys, look up," and I'm like, and then we lost 3 hours over time.
Like whether you have a encounter or not, just the guided meditation. Like I was relaxed. Like I was on edge because I'm like,
you're at the Hinsdale
someone's
house.
gonna come out of this woods. Like we were just doing an investigation, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel good.
Yeah.
So about the what ifs are just running wild in your head.
And then now I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this again because I'm not trying to get abducted and probed. So,
yeah, no.
So with that being said, so like after everything that happened, like what do you think that was? Like just total unabridged, like.
I definitely like to know answers and have answers in my head for things. Like you guys try to debunk things when you go places and try to think of every possible thing. I don't know. I can't think of what it would be. I mean, I have no explanation of what it is. Like between the light that you're talking about, this brown white light, and the flashes of greens and blues, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't have an explanation. I don't know if you guys have thought about it, and what do you guys think about it?
I know it made the Hinsdale house feel safer than being outside.
Yes.
And those of you that have been to the Hinsdale house, saying that being inside that house, where they did a structural exorcism of that house being safer than being outside, like...
It's like going in there in the middle of the day to take a pee by yourself. You're like, hurry up.
Oh my God.
Get this out of me.
So as a side note,
be in there. And then
Morgan, do you want to tell everyone what happened while you were peeing? Like what spooky ghost encounter happened while you were taking a tinkle?
Yeah, so the spookiest thing happened when it was still daylight out, and we were all sitting outside by the fire pit, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go inside and go to the bathroom real quick. And I'm sitting there going to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden I hear about 3 or 4 loud bangs on the side of the house. So I'm like, I tense up, wash my hands as quick as I ever have in my entire life. And I kind of casually try to walk out of the house.
He did not casually walk out. He ran his ass out of the house.
Whatever. Yeah. So, okay. All right.
There's no fear here.
I ran out of the house and I was like, did y'all hear anything like that? You hear any bangs or loud noises? And at first they did such a good job of like being like, oh, what are you talking about? But then I forget which one of them. I looked at their faces and I was just probably, and I was just like, no way. And they all just started busting up laughing. Like, this is still the daytime before anything had ever happened. We were just still hanging out. But
that's how on edge that house is during the daytime, that you can just go and smack the wall and it's going to freak you out.
Yeah, it was me. I walked up and smacked the wall.
And then I would have easily gone in there and gone to sleep by myself in that building after the encounter.
You would have slept in the basement. Yeah. Like we didn't even go into the basement to investigate.
That's also something else that should be said, is that when you're in that bathroom, you know that basement is right there, and it's got a creepy look to it. Just looking down those steps, it's old and.
I think I was the only one that actually went down in there.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, that was the second time that I had done Hinsdale. The first time I did the house was me, Brian, my brother Camden, and then another gal that's part of Your Paranormal. Her name's Amber. She actually lives in Salamanca, so she's a teacher at the school, and she we kept saying Wendigo, and that whole area is Native American land. I believe it's Seneca Indian, and she's like, you can't say that. You can't say that. I'm like, what, Wendigo? And she's like, we're gonna get abducted, and like. We had some pretty interesting stuff happen over there, but like nothing to the level of this. But I mean, it's a 5-hour drive, and we debated. Like we woke up and we were just like, we were pretty quiet that morning. We're like, let's just get everything up, and we got going, and we debated for a really hot minute on the way back. Like, guys, what the fuck happened while we were at the Hinsdale house?
It was a weird morning after kind of a thing, like just kind of looking at each other like, you want to talk about it? Not yet. Not yet.
Like, no,
Not yet.
Let's wait an hour for in the car, and then we'll
let me wake up and
Don't know what's going on.
we'll get some coffee and we'll get some gas station snacks, and then we'll figure out like.
To this day, I don't know what to think about that. You know, was it the combination of us listening to it and the property?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for any of it.
I texted Dan and asked him if they had done anything like that, and he said that years ago they did like a alien focused event there, and he's like, it was a little weird, but he didn't get into too much to it. And I told him what happened, and he's like, dude, that's nuts. Wow. So here's the question though, would you do it again?
Yeah.
At Hinsdale, or would you be open to trying it out at another location, or just like in a field, or like just doing an experiment and just seeing? Because like we did it there because that area is so like positively charged with paranormal, and I have a pretty strong belief that like supernatural and paranormal and aliens and like that whole side of thing, they have like a very strong correlation to each other.
To like almost have like a sample of like the soil, like just to see like what's in the ground there. Is there, is it limestone in that area? Like what kind of conductors are in there? Like there's some energy, I don't know what, but something is conducting in that area.
It's different. It's a different feel when you're out there, even than just sitting in the woods around, Ohio. Yeah. But I would do it again. I would do it again at another place, just to see, I guess, if you could recreate it, or anything like that.
I just want to do it again, and I want to record it.
Yeah.
Like I just want to record it and make sure that we get proof of what happened.
That's gonna be the hard part. It's gonna be one of those. We'll do it 50 times recording, never see anything again. It's just it's the same thing. Like you do paranormal
ghost hunting
investigations. Like there's that one time that you're gonna see a full person walk out of this wall, go, hey, and keep walking, and no one's gonna believe you.
Yeah. Just do. And
you're gonna spend the rest of your life going, I know I've seen it. I need to see it again. It's rolling the dice. 100-sided die. Maybe there's 1% chance you're going to see something, but that's what makes it fun though too.
I remember we were doing Beale a couple weeks ago. Well, last week. We've done so much ghost hunting. Like we've done filming so much content for you guys over the last 2 weeks. We were at Beale, and Caleb and I were talking to Carlo, who owns Beale, and he was talking about he didn't say kooky old ladies, but he said these odd old ladies were there, and they were talking about aliens, and they were running an experiment or something like that about aliens at the house. And he's like, well, that's kind of weird. And then there was something that happened that made like the local newspaper, where there was like an alien craft that like appeared in the city.
What did he say? Like one of the first alien encounters, whatever, in Ohio was like in that area or something. Something
like that. Like it was really weird, and I was like, damn, like that's.
That's what the lady kept saying. Like, yeah, I was talking to them, and she was pointing up, and he's like, the spirits. She goes, no, them, but like wouldn't specify exactly what she was saying. But he was like, yeah,
them,
something. Yeah, it's like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it was wild, but I mean, so old hospital.
Yeah.
Crazy place.
Wild. Absolutely insane.
Hinsdale. Absolutely wild. Crazy. Where do you want to go next? Not where are you going next, because we know we're going to old hospital. Where would you want to go?
What is your bucket list of locations?
And it can be anywhere. It can be overseas, like.
Yeah, so I don't know about like certain locations, because like let's say past the stuff that they would do on Destination Fair or Project Fair, I'm not familiar with a lot of places.
Well, I mean, shit, you can even say there. Like, you can even say one of those locations. Like, it doesn't have to be a...
So was there a place that was called, like, Sugar something or, some Sweet Springs.
Sweet Spring Sanitarium.
So what I've seen from the videos of that place look absolutely insane. Let me say this. Do I want to go there? I don't know. But does it intrigue me? Yeah.
I think it's in Sweet Springs. I think it's either New York. I think Caleb's going to look. But I think it's New York, West Virginia, Virginia.
So, like, in that area.
I'm probably completely fucking wrong. But...
Watch it being like Cali.
Good news, boys.
What?
And girls. West Virginia.
Sick.
Oh, look at that.
So, what's hilarious, and like we talked about it before.
From here,
that would be a cool spot to
what,
hit.
4 hours probably?
4.5 hours.
Not bad.
That ain't bad, boys.
It's just south of...
Let's go.
Lewisburg.
No clue where that
Sweet,
is.
we're gonna add it to the
Let's
list.
Go.
West Virginia, that's all I know.
One of the things, like, Ohio is so central. We've talked about it before. Ohio is so central. You drive, we'll say 5 hours. You got Hinsdale House. You got Wildwood Sanitarium. You've got Waverly. ISS. You got Waverly. You've got Anderson, Monroe, Madison, Randolph, Sweet Springs. You've got Grand Midway Hotel, which is in Pennsylvania. You've got all of these places.
Basically, anything in Ohio and any of the states.
You can go one state
Ohio
bordering.
Yep.
Well, even New York is technically 2 states away, but like Buffalo is 5 hours. Other parts of New York are 5.5.
You basically drive through you drive through Erie, Pennsylvania, because like if you look at Pennsylvania, it looks like a rectangle, and then there's like a little like half square.
We'll count like Western New York as a bordering one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Sweet Springs.
It's so close though. Like within 5 or 6 hours, what you guys are saying is there's so much
Yeah.
that you could experience.
Oh yeah.
So Sweet Springs. Where else would you want to go?
So
bucket list.
So if there's other locations that I would say, like, I'm gonna generalize.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say other medical locations. That kind of stuff intrigues me because because I work in the medical field too. That going off of something like old college or old hospital on College Hill, some kind of medical building, just knowing that things have happened in those buildings. That
we need to take him out to ISS.
Yeah, ISS is a good one.
It.
I've heard you guys talk about that a lot, and I think that would be an awesome trip.
I would deem ISS as my personal favorite, I think.
That sounds,
And honestly, it's not even activity-wise. It's just like...
The complex
the
itself is
history
beautiful.
And the complex, just everything about that place.
Is that's the one with multiple buildings, right? It's not just one place.
Yes.
You've got, the 5-story...
The nursing home.
An admin building... You have
the admin and the
nurses'
Adams
cottages.
Hall. Fine, that nurses
governor's mansion.
The nursing home is
powerhouse.
There's something dark.
Tons.
Yeah,
like
that's wild.
Very, very dark energy in that area.
Yeah,
and there's so like being a medical building, like that obviously probably not all good things have happened at those places.
Well, the cool thing with
considering it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but everything was just like, hey, we're shutting down, leave everything, go.
So like there's just like
clothes.
Equipment still in there.
Everything is there.
There's a room in the back powerhouse that's just
you can walk into the
belongings.
staff locker room at the nurses in the nursing home, and you open up a locker and there's like shaving cream and shoes and a shirt and pictures and stuff.
Like,
literally they just got up and left.
Like there's a calendar.
So something
up
happened.
Right.
They got sued like 50 times or something like that because eventually the building like shut down. So it was similar to ISS it was similar to Fairfield where it was kind of like a self-contained village because it was like several hundred acres and they worked and lived on the farm. And then as it closed down in like 2010 or 2014, like it was active like semi recently. And basically it was a low risk psychiatric hospital was the 5-story that Olivia was talking about. The residents that lived there could kind of come and go. They weren't like locked down. They were able to come and go as they pleased. And there were lots of situations where people like left and wandered off and died in the woods.
Oh my
and I
gosh.
think that's what happened. Like there was a murder suicide that happened between staff members. and it was just they got sued. Like it just hit and hit and hit and hit, and they're like, we can't. So it shut down.
It shut down. They were like, staff needs to go, patients need to get arrangements, and then those who didn't have arrangements were like, hey, here's a bus ticket.
Oh my gosh!
Bye.
Yeah. They literally everyone dropped everything to get out of this place.
The lunch menu for the day that the place closed
is still there.
Is still up.
That's so creepy.
Like
that makes it so much eerier.
Yeah, but it's cool because like a lot of locations will like decorate from the time period that it was most active, and it's just like miscellaneous things.
They just left it.
Yeah, like everything there is just there.
It's almost like a little time capsule in itself there. Then.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, ISS is cool.
That sounds wild.
So,
also, it is photography paradise.
Perfect. Perfect. That's right up my alley for decaying, decrepit buildings.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh, I love it.
So I got another question for you.
Yep.
So when we were at Fairfield, we asked this question. You get 10 people. Who would be your paranormal team?
My paranormal team.
You get 10 people, and you don't feel obligated to say like me or Caleb because we both voted for you. But you get 10 people.
If I remember right, you voted for me. I didn't think Caleb voted for me.
And he was mad because I said you first. But he also said my wife, and I was like, my wife doesn't like this. Like,
all right,
so she likes to stay at home.
If I had to pick 10 people.
Okay, I'll count them off for you.
All right, count them off. So I would definitely say for the ones that I've gone on, I would definitely take Caleb.
Okay.
Number 1, baby.
Hell yeah.
Caleb, Bravin. Harrison was at these locations with me 10 years ago too when Caleb, and so I would say Harrison for sure. Olivia, I think that you guys do such a good job all together. Even if I haven't been on anything with you, I think that you guys work so well together.
They met today.
They
met just today.
A couple hours ago. So I would definitely put Olivia on the list too because you guys work together well.
We'll investigate together in 2 weeks.
Perfect. So where am I at? That's 4?
That's
okay.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, so if my wife wanted to go, I would totally try to push her into things, but I think that's, I don't know.
It's a stretch. It's a stretch getting the wives to go.
5 more, man.
Come on, wives. I need more girls with me.
Oh, man.
Shout out Kate.
Yeah, we do love Kate.
The one person who I've talked about this stuff too with that's always been intrigued about it is my mom too.
Okay.
Like, would she go? I don't know, but she's always pretty intrigued about it. So like to have her...
Your mother will 100% support anything you do.
Absolutely.
Like, absolute same.
So mom. Yeah. Excellent. Love it.
I would say my buddy Austin would probably be on my list too, because I know that he and I have talked about some things before, and he's been pretty interested in this
Austin
too.
Would be fun.
Yeah, he would be good. What do I got? 3 more left?
Yeah.
Okay, is this the part where I can also pick like someone that's I don't have any idea?
You could have said the entire cast of Deadpool for your 10 people if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so man, I should have been prepared for this a little bit more. But
see,
that's
what makes it fun.
It's on the spot.
That's what makes it on the spot.
Because I love his reactions to things. Tanner.
Okay.
From the Project Fear Destination things, I love when he how he is in these places. I think is
he gets defense
great.
Mode.
Yes, it gets a little aggressive.
Okay.
Man, who else? This is hard, guys. I can't think of 10 people.
Imagine like Caleb and Olivia when I asked them for the first time when we were at Fairfield.
Gosh, 2 other people. I don't know. I feel like just out of also from history, I feel like Garrett would have to be on that list too, because I think he would be really fun to do stuff with too.
It'd be interesting to see him do, because he's real big into tarot cards and all this stuff now. Be interested to see like a tarot being done in a location.
So then last
person. Yeah, one more. Who's that number 10?
Man. I want to pick someone off the wall that's like not even related to any of this in any way, shape, or form. But like someone creepy, like way creepy, and I'm thinking this is probably not going to be someone that you guys would think of, like someone creepy like Rob Zombie or something like that.
You know, it's weird. In my head, I was going to say Robert Englund, so I got the Rob part. Right.
You did get the Rob, so
I was literally about to say, I'm like, oh, Freddy Krueger.
I don't know. I feel like he'd have something wild to say, just because of how he is as a person and all the movies and stuff he's made. But I would say that would be a pretty solid 10 for me.
It's good to know that I am 10 spots above Rob Zombie.
You're welcome. Sorry, Rob.
mean,
I'm proud I got number 4.
You were in the top 5.
Yeah. But I feel pretty confident about that list.
That's a good list. So we're gonna wrap it up because Olivia has to poop.
Not true.
I'm leaving it in there.
Where's the?
Oh, sorry.
Which one is it?
Sorry, you have to spooky Duke. So, is there anything? So I mean, we're about an hour and 45 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on? Anything we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about? Or
I'm gonna do a shout out for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If he forgets about it, everybody, whoever's listening, check out Glass Forest.
Oh yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Morgan's
Thank you for
band.
that. That was
Morgan
cool.
is
Yep.
a phenomenal guitarist, singer. The band is great. I've
we'll
seen you
link
guys.
it down below too.
All right.
How
cool.
many
Thank
times
you.
I've seen you with your old band, your new band, your solo stuff. Morgan has
Yeah.
always put on a great show. So look him
Appreciate
up.
that. On the main social media stuff like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you can look up
Bandcamp
Glass
or
Forest,
what is the
Ohio.
band- the
There's a
streaming
band camp that's got a couple
Yep.
originals from many years ago. But yeah, all the social media stuff. If you look up Glass Forest, Ohio, you can definitely get into something there.
Well, and the great thing is like Caleb was talking about supporting you and your band when we were investigating on Monday. He was like, I had just had my stroke and got out of the hospital and was like driving up to go see his show. So like,
Yeah, I mean it was
It was like
weeks.
It was like
weeks
2 weeks after I got out of the hospital.
Yeah. He drove up and he saw me play acoustically.
Yeah.
That was
but
crazy.
for real, like
Always
if you
got to.
give Morgan a listen, give him a follow. Like he's a homie. We
Appreciate
support
it.
him. He supports us. So
Absolutely,
You
these
guys
guys are
will
great.
see him in our old hospital investigation
Yeah.
video, and hopefully
Where
be
he
on
gets chained
our
inside
recap, our
body cooler
recap
for 4 hours.
podcast. You'll get your second podcast.
I'm still trying to figure out how we're
That's
going to
gonna be
do that
exciting.
recap because we've got 5 people, but
We'll figure it
I'll
out.
figure it out.
Just
Yeah.
pay
Figure
no
it out.
attention to my book bag that has a 40-pound chain in it and locks.
Yeah,
this is,
yeah,
So
don't pay
anyway.
attention to it.
This rag smells like chloroform, kind of a thing.
Does this smell like chloroform to you?
Yeah.
So
No, I'm super excited though to do it.
excellent.
It'll be
Well, and again, Morgan, I know that you did this little vacation to hang out with Morgan or with Caleb and Christine, but we appreciate you letting me, Olivia, and my wife come crash your party.
Yep.
Get this episode filmed. We've been chomping at the bit to get you on.
No,
but
this was great. This was awesome.
everyone that was listening, if you made it to the very end, we super appreciate you guys, all the support, all 34 of you that listen to us. Hopefully we'll get some more subscribers, but
Share with your friends. Get
Yeah.
I
us some
think
more.
we got like 50 views in the last one.
We promise
yeah,
we're
the
just
views,
cool guys
the
and
views are
gals.
pretty good,
keep
but
it going.
again,
Absolutely.
we're just 3 friends that like to investigate and get spooky and have our friends come on.
Tina's gonna tell like the 9 ladies at the coffee shop.
Hell
Pelican
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, the Pelican House.
So maybe we'll get 9 extra views.
Hell
For sure.
yeah. So, but again, with that being said, we really appreciate you guys making it all the way to the end. This has been an in-person filming of Shadow Sessions Paranormal, and we are going to sign off because we're about to go drink some more. We love you guys. Have a
So
good
good.
one. See you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Peace.